Welcome back to another month of the Patreon board. This is where we look at media requested by my patrons. So let's not waste time and see what Zenith has requested for me this time. A talking cat? Aw, of course, it had to be that film. Well, it had to happen eventually, so let's talk about a talking cat. Now, this is a film you'd swear was a school project, but was actually sold through retail. For much like Birdemic, which I seriously need to get to at some point, it's the kind of independent film that has some of the cheesiest, if not amateurish writing and editing you can imagine. And this is coming from someone who is crap in both fields. And while everyone has to make a start somewhere and improve from it, this was directed by someone who's made quite a large share of films in his day. David DeCoto has produced well about 100 films in his life, with most consisting of horror films and erotic films. But this here is a children's movie, and while not the first time he's done of that sort, this does make me wonder how far he's either improved or fallen since his time owning Rapid Heart Productions, which, given the rate he puts things out, the rapid part makes sense. And considering that Phase 4 Films is distributing this thing, much like they did with Cool Cat Saves the Kids, my guess is their dignity is rather shallow if they even go with this thing, because would you believe even Cool Cat looked better edited than this crap? Well, let's get right to it. We open out in the woods of Malibu, California, where someone has seemingly left their cat out that may possibly fall prey to any eagles that are in the area.
I like the woods. Always have. Don't get me wrong, I like to be indoors in a nice fluffy bed as much as anyone. More than anyone, probably.
And yes, that is Eric Roberts literally having recorded his lines for this cat, named Duffy. Yeah, this is the definition of phoned-in performance. And apparently it only took him 15 minutes to do. Granted, the movie is about an hour and a half long, but for something that's supposed to be professionally made, this doesn't feel very professional. I guess they wanted to do the Garfield thing, where we just hear what the animals are saying in their heads. But that won't matter given what happens later. After a needlessly long intro of what's pretty much a home video of the cat, we cut to the mansion that apparently is used for David's 1313 film series. And I can imagine this was a leftover prop, where we're introduced to Phil, played by Johnny Whitaker. Funny how one goes from child star to middle-aged man showing up in lowbrow slop. He recently sold his computer company in order to retire and be with his son, Chris.
We used to love that as a kid.
You're home early.
It's over.
What's over?
The company. We sold the websites, the interface, the code that I worked half my life on. Sold myself out of a job. Now they say that I've got enough money to retire.
Didn't you already have enough money?
That's what they say. That's why it feels so weird.
What happens now?
I don't know. Guess I'll hang out here at the house for a while. Maybe we could spruce it up a little bit.
Okay, so it's that setup where the single parent is never around for the kid but wants to improve, but the kid is so far past caring that he's emotionless. So you're telling me the cat is somehow going to fix their relationship? Well, okay, the cat shows up through the open door. We gonna address that? No? We just go back to Chris, who gets a call from another student from school, named Franny by the way, who was suggested by her teacher to get tutoring from him. Though, how did she get his number?
I mean, I'm good at English, so...
Are you sure?
Yeah, sure, I'm sure. Why, did somebody say something?
I was kidding. Anyway, text me your address. I can come over tomorrow and we'll work out a schedule. My parents can't pay much.
Come on, no payment necessary. I mean, no shoes, no shirt, no service.
What does that mean?
I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Jeez, you're making that one kid from Vacation seem more normal when approaching girls. And that was an even worse movie than this. He spots Duffy, but seems to lose sight of him, even though it wouldn't take much to catch up to a walking cat. Anyway, we soon shift over to this other house where our other main parent character, Susan, played by Christine DeBelle, lives with her daughter Tina and her son Trent. Guess what this family's problem
Told
is?
your mom about business college.
Why don't you shut it?
Why don't you shut it? You're the annoying one.
No, you're the one who doesn't even know what he's going to do with his life. At least I have direction and purpose.
And if only you had a personality, you might have a future.
I hate you, Trent.
Ditto.
Can you guys give it a rest and help me find my shoes?
Yep, they're supposed to be dysfunctional. The daughter being smart but can't afford college, yet is still a snob about her intelligence. The son feeding into her need to throw childish insults at him despite being freaking teenagers. And the mother being a small-time caterer, trying to keep order despite her own failings.
Suck up.
Loser.
Slacker.
The funny thing is, either the mother is deaf, or she doesn't care her children are name-calling right in front of her. God, I wish there was someone who could remedy their deplorable lifestyle. Like maybe a professional therapist who specializes in Oh Right the Cat.
It's a lot of work to do what I have to do. Not many people realize that. Yes, we're all connected, but it takes real magic to connect the right people at the right time. But it can be hard sometimes because people can be stubborn and silly and sleep right through the best parts of life. I try not to let that happen. I'm Duffy, and I'm a human whisperer.
A human whisperer? Now that's just dumb. Whoever heard of an animal that acted as a human whisperer? It's unheard of. So besides the performances being dull and uninspiring, it's amazing how little effort there is with editing. The transition shots consists of random spots in the local area that last like a moment longer than needed. And there isn't a sense of time progression since we're already on the next day despite not going through a night phase, where Chris is to be tutoring Franny, and also the lack of something as practical as smoke to go with Phil flapping that sheet toward the kitchen. I'm sure there's things to replicate the burning of waffles, but if you couldn't, then why bother shooting Phil doing just that? So anyway, Duffy comes back, and if you were watching this for the first time, you'd think, given how this went, that they were talking to each other.
Ooh. Yes. Ooh.
Let's see. What does it say? Duffy.
I'm Duffy.
Yeah?
It's Duffy.
But there's no
Who
address.
told you to stop rubbing my ears?
Huh.
I don't remember my first owner very much.
Okay, well, maybe you can get some sun out here, huh?
And if you could grab me a bowl of milk, that would be great. I should probably follow Phil inside, but there is seriously nothing more wonderful than a cat nap.
What a lazy cat! He says he wants to help, but decides to be a freeloader. Usually, people would be tossing him out by now. What's this about letting cats hang around all of a sudden? So what sort of awkward conversation do they have to offer this time?
So you're having trouble in English?
Yeah, well, I'm not really into reading books.
But you're in honors classes.
Yeah, well, just because I had, like, help and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, well, there's a whole required reading list in the first book. I kind of need help with what's going on.
So you don't read at all?
Why? When there's movies and TV.
How did you get far in your life?
You could explain to me what's going on in the books while I swim in your pool?
Okay, I guess she doesn't give that much of a damn if she's willing to let him watch her swim. I mean, at least he's not one to take advantage of it. But he clearly wants to be with her, so it's Duffy to the rescue. By going to Phil.
Did someone mention my name? Never mind.
We're about 20 minutes in, and so far, nothing's happened. All we had are characters just having really awkward and very slow conversations that lead to nowhere. When the hell is that cat going to actually talk? And not the Garfield way of talking, since no one can hear it anyway. We go back to the other place, and it's the same thing!
Oh, when did you become so jaded?
I'm not jaded, I just know what I want. Unlike some people.
I heard that.
Of course you did.
What about you, Trent?
What about me?
Why don't I ask the Sims about an internship for you?
Do something, Duffy, before I consider talking about how Cool Cat is more productive than you. I can already solve your problem. You clearly have a knack for landscaping and home renovation. Take up a career in that before you decide to become a weightlifter. And you, stop talking on your phone and saying, I know, a lot.
I know. I know. I know. Well, you know how Derek was. That's why you broke up with him. I know. I know. I know. Right. I know. I know. I know. Okay. Goodbye. I am such a good friend.
Bullshit!
Read your beeping machine.
I'm sorry. Every time I see that, I just can't believe what I saw. You know, at least in movies that use CG or fast motion to make it look like an animal is talking, you can tell there is some effort to make it seem realistic. All they did here was edit the clip so it looks like the mouth is moving on its own. That black void there,
Read your machine.
oh god, it doesn't even match. You were better off using the telepathy method. Doing this is just creepy looking. So yeah, now the cat decides to talk. But apparently there are rules to this.
I'm a cat with good manners, so please read your machine. I can only speak to you once, it's the rules.
And by rules, he means, shut up, human, I can do whatever I want. Now give me cheeseburger. Yes. Apparently he wants her to look at her computer, which she'll end up doing later, but first, she has to convince her mother that Duffy was talking. Even though she was just told it only talks once. But then she goes to say what most critics have said about this movie to her brother.
This is why you have no imagination. A talking cat? That's just stupid. That's the best you could come up with. That doesn't even make sense, you moronic oaf.
But you know, if he's as dumb as you say, how the hell did he pull off this elaborate prank? In fact, how does he do anything if he's working outside? You are not just dumb. You're a cold-hearted... well...
You're a bitch.
yeah, what he said. So, looking at her computer, she seems to pull up the news of Phil having sold his company. What does this have to do with her? Well, since her mom won't let her go to college, might as well help a retired businessman before he sells out. Possibly get a business deal out of him? Speaking of, it seems he's accepted that Duffy comes and goes, yet lets him on his bed. Now, just before this scene, Trent wanted to go walk in the woods to get over being an unlikable brother, I guess? Which of course goes nowhere, but guess what advice Duffy gives Phil?
You should take a walk in the woods,
What's going on here?
and then have a talk in the woods.
Why are you talking?
Well, because I have one chance to, and I thought now might be good.
You can talk? But only once?
I don't make the rules, Phil.
So repeating what we already know on this phenomenon, he of course goes to Chris, and wait, really? You had an evening shot earlier, and it looked like you could have had decent lighting at night, but here, it's pretty obvious you just put a filter over this to make it look like it's night, when it's not. What the hell?
New day. New day to start over. Phil 2.0. Yeah. Wonderful day to start again.
There is no way out of here. It will be dark soon. There is no way out of here.
So Phil takes that walk, and I swear half the movie is nothing but transition shots. We go back to Tina's house, where she continues to be herself.
Today, you don't have it in you.
I'll pretend like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. You stay dumb. I'm off to the library to work on my proposal, because I'm smart and you're not.
Fuck you too! What's up with you, Cat?
I'm a talking cat, but I can only talk to a person once. And there's a collar my original owner gave me, buried under a grove of magical trees due north of here. It's near a big fallen tree, and just through a thick hedge, it looks like a fuzzy green wall.
Okay, what prompted you to tell us about this magic collar in the woods? What does it have to do with Trent and his problems of not having a purpose in life? or the fact that his sister sucks. Oh, he tells him he does have imagination and he just doesn't know it. That's nice. In the meantime, Phil stumbles upon their house and meets Susan. Let's see how their meeting goes.
Hi, I'm sorry. I was just walking in the woods and I guess I got a little bit...
Lost? Mugged?
I'm sorry. I'm not much for hiking. Not yet, anyway.
Would you like some water?
Well, I hate to be a bother, but that would be great.
Wait, you're not a crazy person, right? I mean, no offense.
My son says I am. I don't think so, so I guess the jury's still out.
About as sloppy and awkward as everything else in this movie. Is this really supposed to be funny? Is this something kids would really care about? Adults talking about their favorite films and teenage angst? Where are the messages that can be related to all ages? Why are we stuck with these idiots? Hell, Franny seems to have taken lessons from Bart Simpson on how to conduct book reports.
A guy named Hamlet who likes ham. Hamlet is a story about a guy who can't take action even though the obvious is staring him right in the face.
Yeah. Good, yeah.
Psst, I think she wants to bang you. Even though it doesn't make sense in this situation. So now Duffy's advice to him is learn how to swim from someone. I'm actually amazed at how quick he is to accept this situation out of everyone else so far. But yeah, with some hesitation, he does accept the idea of asking for lessons. And oh, now that's even more obvious that they can't do night shots. Look, there's sunlight pouring in despite the evening shot from earlier. Now I really hate to imagine what their earlier or later films are like if this is their best way of getting scenes done at night. Look, I get that not everyone can get that perfect shot yet still want it anyway, so you compromise. But if it's something that's out of your hands, take your losses and think of something else. Otherwise, it'll just look like a mess of a shot. All I'm asking is it really worth it in the end? Do what you can. Know your limitations. You'll get there. Just one step at a time. Anyway, Susan got a new client she thinks might get them a better life, so of course the two children are forced into her situation. Oh, and apparently she's the last person Duffy needs to talk to, but she won't let him stay. But luckily Tina can sneak him into her room. The next day, Phil seems to put in more of his old investments away before his walk. Or drive? Oh wait, that's Susan. But it goes on for over a minute! Also, I haven't made mention of this yet, but by now it's clear they really wanted Susan to be a caterer, but the only thing she finds important are cheese puffs.
Great. Cheese puffs?
They're cooling. They smell amazing.
They should. Everything's top notch. I'm losing money on those cheese puffs. You have to spend money to make money.
No wonder you're failing in life. You only make one thing. No one's gonna want to invest in a caterer who only makes one solitary food item. You cannot make a living off of cheese puffs alone. You stupid lady. Phil shows up again and they have yet another awkward conversation. And then something stupid happens.
Duffy?
Phil, don't freak out. Don't freak out.
My cheese puffs!
Oh, I'm sorry. Don't be mad.
And Phil freaks out.
Well, maybe I can buy you some more.
I make them from scratch, and the Sims asked for them specifically.
Lady, it's freaking bread. I think they'll be fine. Well, apparently they're ruined. And while Tina recognizes Phil and they come up with a plan to make more at his place, Susan is just too damn emotional because her cheese puffs dropped.
Mom, he's nice. I need to talk to him.
Well, that may be, but if you're not making cheese puffs, you're grounded.
How can you do that? I'm almost an adult.
Well, until you start acting like it, you do what I say.
Oh, this didn't go very well.
No crap! Well, Tina catches up to Phil to discuss a business idea that she had since meeting Duffy. Susan finds out and sends Trent out to find her. In the time it takes for Phil and Tina to get back to his place, they already finished the first batch of cheese puffs. Time-lapsing? What's that? Meanwhile, Chris is trying to swim, but the invisible sharks might get him. Oh no! Luckily, Trent is here to save the day. Even though he could be getting his sister, Trent just randomly asks to go for a swim.
Oh, there's some extra towels and gym shorts in the cabana. Or you can just jump in.
Oh, so not only does Chris get his teacher, but Trent might actually have a job taking care of the pool. Though I don't know, I think David just wanted to do some preliminary shooting for his next 1313 movie. As for Tina, it looks like Phil is impressed with her database and is willing to accept it for whoever owns the company now. Or actually, it might be for his new company, I guess. Susan drives on over and is not pleased by her daughter's disobedience. And wait, the meeting ended already? How long did all of this play out? Did people just forget what they were doing? Left this poor woman to suffer despite kinda deserving it? In a time frame that's more misleading than the Batman Arkham games?
Tina, Trent, in the car. We'll talk about this when we get home. And Phil, you may very well be a nice person, but in the future, could you take your walk on a different trail?
And F you too, lady! Duffy thinks he can fix this by just talking to Susan. But otherwise, it seems the only ones who benefited from Duffy were Phil and Chris. They're taking advantage of Tina's program and it brought them together. Susan and her family, well, they're still screwed. But at least Chris can talk to a girl without being too weird. Though the bad news is that Duffy got hit by a car in between scenes. Even though that's the sign of roadkill, he just has a piece of cloth over his head. Like, he's not even showing signs of injury. No blood, no tire marks, nothing. He shouldn't even be moving like that. You aren't even trying anymore, are you? At this point, the people who talked to him realized that if they could talk to Duffy, there must be a magical way to save him, and Trent brings up that collar he was told about. They soon find it and put it on, and then... the hell?
What happened?
We did something.
I'm Duffy. I'm a talking cat.
What, were you some sort of messenger from heaven this whole time? No way, that'd be stupid. Everyone knows heaven hates cats. It's dogs they blindly love. And then the usual what happened to everyone thing, where Phil and Susan get hooked up, Tina's program kicks off while he starts a new company, and the rest just go swimming with the hint that they are figuring stuff out for their future. Oh, and Duffy decides to stay with them. The end! Good God, that was painful to watch. It was hardly so bad it's good. Like, it doesn't have that charm to make you find the production ironically funny, with maybe the exception of 2 moments. But otherwise, it was just boring. It's obvious that the performances are very flat, the writing embarrassing, even as a children's movie, and the effect work so poor it's like baby's first movie. Except it's not. This is from a director who's overseen about 100 films now, and this is all he can produce? It just feels like he's learned nothing over the years, and maybe it'll take me having to see his earlier works for comparison, because there is no way that this is a continuing thing with him. No way would he make the same mistakes twice. Oh, you. I'm at a loss for words. Just don't bother with this. It's not the kind of movie you could drink to, as there's barely any substance to it. It's more like a home movie with little plot and little care at all. And now I'm gonna need something to wash this out. I wonder what Arthur has requested for me. You know what? I'll take it, if only because there are werewolves involved. See you next episode.